It started like any other gaming session, just a casual night of strategy and smack talk with my online gaming buddy Jake. Between rounds of trying to storm a digital fortress, Jake casually dropped a bombshell. "You ever think about how time might not be real?" I laughed. "What do you mean, like time's a social construct or something?" "No," Jake said. "I mean literally. Time might not exist, like at all. It's just something we experience, but it's not fundamental to reality." I paused mid-game. "Okay, explain." Jake started talking, and it felt like I was suddenly in a college philosophy class instead of a virtual battlefield. "Einstein's theory of relativity," he began, "shows that the universe is like a giant four-dimensional block. Everything that's ever happened is happening, and will happen is already there. The past, present, and future all exist simultaneously in this block universe. The flow of time, that's just how we perceive it." "So, you're saying time doesn't move?" I asked, trying to wrap my head around it. "Exactly," Jake said. "Think of it like a DVD. Every scene in the movie exists on the disc, but we experience it linearly because that's how we play it. Time's just a way of organizing events, not a fundamental thing." Jake didn't stop there. He started throwing around terms like loopquantumgravity and QuantumEntanglement, which I vaguely remembered from late-night science documentaries. "Here's the crazy part," he said. "Loop quantum gravity suggests that space and time aren't continuous. Instead, they're made up of these tiny, discrete chunks, like pixels on a screen, and when you zoom in far enough, time disappears entirely." "Wait, what? How can time disappear?" "Well," Jake said, "if time is made up of these tiny chunks, it's not a smooth flow like we think it is. It's more like frames in a stop-motion video. And some physicists argue that if you get down to the fundamental level of reality, those chunks might not even exist. Space-time could just be a network of relationships between events, no time required." "Okay, but what about quantum entanglement? How does that fit in?" Jake explained. "Quantum entanglement is where things get really trippy. Imagine two particles that are entangled. What happens to one instantly affects the other, no matter how far apart they are. Some physicists believe that time emerges from these entangled relationships. In other words, if a particle isn't entangled with something acting as a clock, it doesn't experience time at all." "Dude," I said, "that's insane. So, if there's no entanglement, there's no time." "Pretty much," Jake replied. "At that level, time is just something we layer onto reality to make sense of it." "But what about us?" I asked. "We know we experience time. We age, we plan for the future. How can time not be real if we live it every day?" Jake nodded. "That's the psychological reality of time. Our brains perceive change, and we interpret it as time passing. But that doesn't mean time is a fundamental aspect of the universe. It might just be something we evolved to perceive because it's useful for survival." And he gave an example. "Think about animals that don't have a sense of time like we do. They live in the moment, reacting to stimuli without worrying about the past or the future. Our ability to remember the past and predict the future is just a tool, like eyesight or hearing. It's not proof that time is a universal truth." Jake also got into the philosophical side of things. "There are arguments that we could work out the unreality of time using logic alone," he said. "For example, if the future already exists in the block universe, does it make sense to talk about creating the future? And if time isn't real, does that mean our actions are meaningless? So, what's the point of getting out of bed?" I joked. "Good question," Jake replied. "Some people argue that without time, there's no reason to act. But others say the opposite. If time is an illusion, then every moment already exists, and your actions are part of the fabric of reality. You're not creating change, you're just playing out your role in the tapestry of existence. So, if time isn't real, what is it? I asked. Jake leaned into the mic. Some physicists think time is emergent, meaning it arises from something more basic. Maybe it's a property of how particles interact, or how we interpret relationships between events. Whatever it is, it's not what we think it is. And that's supposed to make me feel better? Jake laughed. It's not about feeling better. It's about understanding the universe. If time isn't real, it changes everything, our understanding of physics, our approach to life, even how we think about ourselves. As our gaming session wound down, I couldn't stop thinking about what Jake had said. If time isn't real, then what is? Is everything predetermined? Are we just stuck in a cosmic DVD, playing our parts without ever really changing anything? Jake's final words stuck with me. Maybe time's just a tool we use to make sense of the chaos. It's not real, but it's real enough to us. And maybe that's all that matters.